Welcome back to another episode of The Pink Room with Rocky. Here we are in the Pink Room, my parents' guest room, as I'm battling cancer and doing a podcast. I hope everybody has had a good holiday. It's the end of the year. This episode airing somewhere around New Year's Eve. Rather than have an interview, we're going to be doing some top list of 2023, including food trucks, top 5 food trucks of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Top 5 food experiences of the year, and of course, just top 5 moments, and ending with top 5 crushes. The top 5 super crushes of 2023. So here we go, guys. Listen, a disclaimer before we get started. As always, everything on the podcast is completely made up. Any names that happen to be similar to those that exist in the real world is completely coincidence, even if it may be someone that I know, even if it's someone that you may have seen on my social media, or if it's something that actually seems to have happened that was in the news, on TV, or completely 100% true. I promise you, for the sake of this podcast, none of it is real. It is all just a complete coincidence, and legally speaking, not about anything in reality. Okay, now that we've covered that, I hope everybody's good. As we continue into the new year, podcasts will continue and things will continue to evolve. But on this show, we'll be doing some top 5 list of 2023, right? As we get ready for 2024, as we try to survive it. So I was going to start, I think the most interesting list for most of the listeners. We'll end with crushes. The scandalous side of things. But I have been very dry today. And by dry, I mean if you've ever seen Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves back in the day, that look, that white Dracula look is exactly how I feel. I feel a little dried out, a little dead inside. I'm not sure I have any operating organs at this point. I may literally be a vampire. I'm not sure if I need a transfusion or what I need at this point, but it is something else. Okay, so I'm going to try to get this podcast done with as many smiles as I can and as much detail as I can. So let's start this off with the top 5 food trucks of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And let me tell you, I'm a food truck expert, owner of Cart & Soul in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a Korean fusion truck. We'll be doing several events this year, kicking it off here soon, maybe in the next month or so. So I have been a patron of about every single food truck in this town, right? So I am a bona fide expert on both food trucking and food. So I'm going to start it out. We're going to go 5-1 on all these lists, right? So as I was thinking over my top 5 food trucks of Chattanooga, Tennessee, there were a couple in here. Let me just tell you, coming in at number 5, sliding in there, is California Smothered Burrito. And let me tell you, California Smothered Burrito. And also just keep in mind that I'm never full of shit and always 100% honest with you guys. California Smothered Burritos foods might not have eked them into a number 5. They need a little salt and pepper, a little seasoning on some of this food. But if you want a big portion, and that's what you're all about, and some people are, they're definitely a great truck. But here's what I love about them. I really love the crew. They are individuals who have checked on me and been there for me during my battles, both with cancer and assholes all along the way. I love them to death, and they're always excited to see me, and I'm excited to see them. There are some individuals that I can always count on checking on me, and they can count on the same from me. So eking in at number 5 is just some of my favorite crew and one of my favorite trucks, and probably the second oldest operating truck in Chattanooga, Tennessee, California Smothered Burrito. You got to love them. And then coming in at number 4 is the Brunchery. The Brunchery, everybody. The Brunchery is a small food truck out of Cleveland, Tennessee, ran by Carol with a K. Carol with a K is not only brilliant in creating beautiful food that everybody wants. She mostly does private events and catered events. If you have a wedding and you need just a spot-on, high-end, classy truck, you need to get a hold of Carol with the brunchery. It doesn't hurt that she's got a beautiful husband and a beautiful kids and a great caboose. She is just a baddie who knows how to run a business and do it with a smile, right? Always classy, always cool. Number 3, coming in at number 3, best trucks in food trucks in Chattanooga. Let me just tell you, you get into this top 3, and you're talking about the really the most superlative food in town. Okay, the greatest chef on any truck in Chattanooga is Dustin, and number 3 is Asorum food truck. Okay, Asorum is billed as sort of an international cuisine truck, but what it really is a brilliant chef in Chattanooga who's decided to take things to the next level with food trucking. Everything on his menu is the ingredients are hand selected. The process is brilliantly and professionally done. There has never been an experience with any of his food that's been bad with me. I mean, it is always just delicious and on point. He easily slides into number 3. It was hard not to rank him higher than this. And really, if it just wasn't for personal preference on a few things, Dustin's truck, Asorum, could definitely be up there at number 1. Number 2 is a truckless crew called Smash Boys. Let me tell you, if you're going to get a burger from a food truck in Chattanooga, there's only one place to go, and it's Smash Boys, right? You can catch them outside of a lot of bars. They're sort of up and coming. I could almost place money on them having a truck within the next 3 or 4 months, but they're killing it. And if their burger was a 10, numbers, anybody else in the 8 or 9 category are running a restaurant, whether it's Tremont or whether it's Main Street Meats, right? I don't want to get into these restaurants' burgers, but they are the only people doing a mobile burger in town that is up to the level of the best burgers in town. If you were going to do a top 20 list, they're the only mobile group making a dent in that top 20 list of burgers in town. Smash Boys. Check them out. And then number one is kind of a favorite in town. It's a favorite of everybody, and it really leans into my preferences. It's Yummy Thai. Yummy Thai is not only some of the best Thai in town on a truck, but they're really some of the best Thai in town. They used to run Thai Son restaurant here in town. When it closed up, they started a truck, Yummy Thai, and you can find them almost every day of the week somewhere, right? My favorite is their pineapple fried rice. You can get it as spicy as you want. Their dumpling specials are killer. They're really sweet and brilliant individuals who are hustlers and doing great. So that rounds out my top 5 food trucks of Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you agree with me, you're probably brilliant and have good taste, and if you disagree with me, you're probably an idiot. So, rolling straight from food to more food, right? We're going to go with my top 5 food experiences of 2023, and we're going to run through some of these pretty quick. This might give you some good advice on where to go and where to eat if you're around the country. Coming in at number 5 would be my dinner. It was the filet at the Eiffel Tower restaurant in Las Vegas. Let me tell you, that particular restaurant overlooking the Bellagio fountains, just towards sunset, is the perfect spot to roll into, right? Whether you want to go with some French cuisine, which they specialize in, or something a little more traditionally American, it's a great restaurant with great chefs. I definitely advise you, if you're taking a trip to Vegas and you're making a round of reservations, the Eiffel Tower restaurant is the way to go. I'll give an honorable mention to the Golden Steer. The Golden Steer is the best place for prime rib and crab legs in Vegas. It's also just a wackadoodle old school restaurant that was favored by the whole Rat Pack and Elvis and all these guys, right? So check out the Golden Steer as well if you're in Vegas. Coming in at number 4. Number 4 is a local place here in town in Chattanooga, Tennessee called Main Street Meats, located right down on Main Street. They've just opened a sister restaurant on San Elmo Avenue called the Little Coyote. It is my favorite place to take individuals who have never been, right? Their cuts of meat are off the chain, right? And although you can go there and have a great steak in town, their burger is second to none, okay? Second to none really in the country. It's a grilled onion, Gruyere cheese burger with a little bit of, mustard, house-made pickle. It is a spot-on burger, but the experience at Main Street Meats is something that you cannot miss. You can't miss it, guys. If you're only in town, if you're only in Chattanooga for one day, this is one of those places you just can't miss. It is the marquee restaurant and culinary experience of the town. No matter what anybody says about a couple of the places that are down the road, it's just not true, okay? Number three on the list of top 5 food experiences that I've personally had in the last year. This is a personal experience. It was the all-you-can-eat crab buffet way down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. I was staying in Seaside at the time. And what made the experience for me is I had to take out the little boys, right? My kids are 13 and 15. My nephews were at the time 15 and 12. Had to take them. Had to take, I took my niece out. I took one of my friend's kids. I took one of my kids' friends out. And they had never really had the all-you-can-eat crab leg experience. So we go to a restaurant down there, and I wish I could remember the name of it. We're going to call it Mike's, Mikey's. And it was just a delight. I couldn't even eat that much at the time. I'd just gotten to the hospital. I had like one cluster of crab, to enjoy, and I got the single portion. But I got all these boys and this girl an all-you-can-eat crab, and there was nothing funner than seeing them compete with each other and just enjoying it. It was quite the experience. It was the largest check that I had to write for a meal of the year, but it was well worth it. It was well worth it. These kids thoroughly enjoyed themselves, and a lot of times, anytime I can bring someone to a food experience and watch the look on their face as they enjoy it, it's amazing, and especially when it's your kids and friends and family. If you can't make it yourself and give them that experience, it's always nice to take them out. My number 2 experience of the year was literally my Thanksgiving dinner, right? And I know it seems a little silly to put on a list, but for me, that Thanksgiving dinner, that traditional food, the turkey, the ham, right, dressing, all those things, all the sides, with family around was a big deal for me. I didn't know where I would be when I was diagnosed on the 15th and given my horrible news. I didn't know where my eating habits would be in the fall, right? Things are progressing in a direction where it makes it harder and harder to eat food. But really just being able to look around and enjoy the people in just a happy environment where everyone had a great day, watched some football, and had all those traditional foods, that was definitely my number 2. And then my number 1 culinary experience was a steak and potato that I had at Velo Hotel in Helsinki, Finland. And let me tell you, I didn't even know what to expect, right? I'd just gotten out of the sauna, I'd done a little cold plunge. I was relaxing my room, and I thought, I'm just gonna go out. And with the language barrier, I don't speak any Finnish. You just never know what you're getting into. But let me tell you, I can't really describe it with words other than one of the highest levels of a meal is a starch dish with a fillet that has some sort of sauce, some sort of French-inspired sauce. And they nailed it that night, right? And I was really not especially susceptible to just having my socks blown off, but this place blew my socks off. If you ever find yourself in Helsinki, you absolutely have to stay at the Velo Hotel, okay? The sauna social element is to die for, the food's to die for, and it's 24-hour free lattes as well. So if you need to go and have like an immersive social experience, saunaing and hot tubbing and cold plunging, while at the same time enjoying 5-star food, and then just staying up 24 hours a day, drinking lattes, this is the spot. Velo Hotel in Helsinki. But as we move away from food, we're going straight into the top 5 moments for me. My top 5 moments, my top 5 personal moments of 2023. And coming in at number 5 would be my Vegas winnings okay? And let me tell you, although there was a lot of cash involved in this, right? What was beautiful about it was just the blatant cheating, right? I sit down at this table thinking that it's a blackjack table, and as it turns out, it is a poker table, right? And I kind of didn't know what I was doing. I sat down. I mean, I know how to play poker, but I'd never played like dealer style poker the way this is, right? And the next thing you know, I won a hand, and the dealer double pays me, and I don't really say anything. Dealers have a lot of discretion there. And I'm like, okay, well, I got a little double pay. I'm okay with that. And I keep playing. Well, every time I'm winning, they're double paying me, they're triple paying me. I'm like, what's going on here, right? Well, I was like, I just got a little bit of a rogue dealer on my hands, right? He's showing me a little favor. He knows my story. He knows I'm battling cancer. He knows these things, and he's just giving me a little extra payout, right? So I'm having quite the night, right? Drawing quite the crowd. I'm having several people donate to my cause, which is nice, and end up that night with several $1,000s. Just a great night, right? I did wake up the next morning and realize that he was not only a dealer, but he was also the pit boss. So I guess he had a little more sway than maybe he should. But it was a delightful experience where they were very kind, and that trip was wonderful. My number 4 experience of the year had to have been crepes in Paris, right? I had been in New York City the night before, hanging out with some guys. I'd gone up to VaynerMedia and done some things, and next thing I know, time had slipped away from me. I asked the Uber driver, I said, listen, can you get me to Newark Airport in an hour and a half? And he was like, I can try. So I showed up at the airport, and I was about 10 minutes late. 10 minutes late, and I knew that it was going to be trouble. I had missed my flight to London, right? So after missing my flight to London, I decide, well, what am I going to do? I sit there, I look, and I ask, well, when's the next flight to London? They're like 24 hours from now. I'm like, oh, this just ain't going to work. So I pull an audible. I'm like, well, when's the next flight to Europe? They're like, it's in 10 minutes. Heading to Paris. So I immediately changed my plans to head to London. I did get to London eventually, but I headed over to Paris. Landed on very little sleep, having just spent quite a bit of time in New York City. And what I do, I just hop the train, right? I hop the train to Notre Dame, and I decide, what better way to spend my morning than enjoying some, sights and having some crepes in Paris. And it was a delight. It was a very Parisian experience, but that moment was really, really nice, and especially to be able to sort of pull an audible and end up somewhere that 10 hours prior, I'd never dreamed that's where I would be. So it was very cool. Moment number 3 is a pretty easy one. It is back to Finland, right, where I talked about the restaurant. Let me tell you, the sauna experience in Finland is the way to go, right? I don't know how this hasn't been adopted in America. But every evening, everybody rolls up to the sauna, right, about 7, 8 o'clock. You hit the sauna, it's going to be about 120. Instead, you start pouring that water out of those rocks, and it gets up to about 140, and your American ass is just about to pass out. Every time you breathe in, it's like fire. But it's so cleansing, and it's so relaxing. And eventually, you stumble out of there, and you head over, and you do a cold plunge, and it is so cold, that when you jump into the hot tub, it's like tepid water, even though it's at 110, right? The night air's above you, the sky, the clouds, the aurora's going off in the distance, and you just sit and socialize for as many hours as you can, 2 or 3 hours, until you're ready to pass out, and you're cleansed. It is really a beautiful experience. If you've never been to anywhere in Scandinavia and experienced sauna culture, you'll fall in love. It's great. Number two experience of the year of 2023 is definitely that of hanging out with my kids, right, at Christmas, okay? When I started off this year, I was feeling awful. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was diagnosed with cancer in April, and I just didn't know how long I'd have to live. And I knew going into this Christmas season, it definitely could be my last. So I've really soaked it in, right? all the traditional Christmas stuff, treats, music, the tree, gift giving. I've really just enjoyed being there with my kids. It's definitely number 2 on the list. But number 1 on my list really is a specific day. And it was a day back in August, okay? I had battled so hard over the summer and done a lot of crying, done a lot of yelling to God to help me and all these things. And it was a particular day where I went back to the Chattanooga market and I saw all these old friends that I hadn't seen because my food truck hadn't been operating, and they loved me and they was glad to see me. I saw 2 of my old professors there, and they were delightful. One of them a cancer survivor herself. And visited with some family that was there. It was really just this amazing day where I thought everything's going to be okay and I'm going to be back here. And it was also at a time where I delusionally thought I was going to end up back with my ex-girlfriend Voldemort, which of course is not going to happen. But that day was sort of the pinnacle of feeling like everything was going to be okay, right? Feeling like everything could be okay. Now, admittingly, the next 3 days after that were the worst days of the year. All that turned out not to be true, But Voldemort hates me to this day, can't stand me, and I'll never speak to her again. The Chattanooga market has banned me because of her and her bosses, right? Like, it turns out that was one of the worst days of my life, but how fascinating that for me, the best day of the year was that day when I had this feeling of hope and reassurance that I was loved and reassurance that people weren't out to get me and stab me in the back. And all that turned out to not be true, but it doesn't change the fact that that was a great day for me, that it was just a beautiful day where I was able to celebrate having survived everything that I had been through in the summer, and that there was hope for the future, right? I was at my height of hope. And luckily, I sort of have turned things over to God to a large degree after that week, after being destroyed, after being attacked and stabbed in the back and those kind of things by people that I had really spent a huge amount of energy and love on and never done anything to at all, who turned out to be awful people. But God will handle my revenge as well. But those were my top moments, 2023. Now, all right, and lastly, the top 5 crushes of 2023. Now, listen, what kind of crazy podcast person is going to list the top 20 crushes of their year, right? Well, it's me. It's me. I'm the one who's just nutty enough to do that. So, top 5 crushes coming in at number 5. We'll start at number 5. It's a beautiful brunette by the name of Bruno. It's the only male on my list. And don't worry, this list isn't terribly goofy, but number 5 is a little mutt, a little American pit bull that I met in Finland by the name of Bruno, who just fell in love with me. Met him at a Christmas party at my friend Joni's house, and we hit it off immediately. The dog could not keep away from me. Oh, and just an adorable dog. It is the only reason I know one word in Finnish, which is the word no. Coming in at number 4. Listen, I try. You try to head to church and encode some degree of anonymity in these crushes. You don't want to just come out and say their name, right? But this particular individual, I just became smitten with. But she was somewhat of a business associate and continues to be. So I really, really don't want to say who she was. But I'm trying to think of what the best way to describe her would be. Well, I'll tell you about my encounter with her. So I really didn't think much of this woman. I went to an art show, and I went with my fellow artist friend Misty. who I just adore. She's great. She's a great artist. And the two of us were roaming around and did our thing, and we went in full effect, and we're in our ridiculous mode. And the night came and went, and I didn't think much about it until the next day when Misty was like, "Hey, did you notice the way that woman was looking at you?" And I thought to myself, no, I absolutely did not. So we had to test the waters, run into this woman a few more times. And there was this brief moment where this woman, number four, was definitely at the top of my crush list. She was a hot little shorty. She definitely beautiful. Definitely wanted to tour her studio. It was at the top of my list. Touring her studio was at the top of my list. Touring her studio is definitely a euphemism, but really the situation wasn't right, and that's kind of a theme with these crushes. Look, there's women I've gone out with this year. They don't really make the list of crushes. Crushes are sort of an unfulfilled, liking, right? That's a crush. It's someone that attracts you, and you think they could potentially be great, but it just wasn't meant to be. That's kind of a crush. That's the way the crush is defined by me. Don't really put anybody on this list that I actually went out with. So that was number 4, Little Aloof. Number 3, coming in at number 3, another shorty local of Chattanooga. Again, it's the smile that gets me. This particular woman is known as the Clown. She is nicknamed the Clown because she is a literal fucking clown, right? And her and her pigtailed self, her balloon-making, fat-butted self is just very intriguing. And it's purely sensual. This woman is alluring. She has a gorgeous way about her, a gorgeous glow. And super intriguing because she has good taste in friends and this sort of thing. She definitely makes number 3. I enjoy painting her, talking about her, and just having a crush from a distance. I have in no way have any interest in asking this woman out. I would much rather just have her as a crush rather than someone who isn't interested in me. It's like you never want to cross the line with your real crushes because you just enjoy crushing on them and just like a beautiful painting, just admiring it. Number 2 on the list of crushes of 2023 is the one, the only. I will just call her Jess. Beautiful woman. Let me tell you, so the way this crush emerged was Facebook. Scrolling along, boom, 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 scrolling along, and one day I run across this picture of this woman, and it's perfectly framed. It's sort of a up and down shot, rectangular, right? And she's off to the left side of the photo, off-centered. Her hair flowing down the very left side, beautiful smile on her face, looks to be just in a great mood. And I thought, this is the kind of individual I would love to have in my life on a day in and day out basis, right? Someone with that smile, someone with a positive demeanor. That's what I need in my life, positive people who are happy in their situation. So immediately, I had to go to one of her friends and I said, hey, what do you think about me and who? And she was like, I don't know, that could work, And I was like, well, is she nice? Is she sweet? Is she kind? And my friend was like, well, she is, but she also may punch you in the face as well. And I thought, oh my goodness, does that mean she's crazy? And my friend was like, yes, she's a little crazy. And I thought, perfect, that's my type. Batshit crazy. I was like, please tell me she doesn't have a job. No, completely jobless. I thought, listen, this is perfect for me. Plenty of time on her hands, a little bit crazy, great smile, nice. That's a pretty great formula for me, right? Willing to travel. So, but I did ask this woman out. She totally knowed me, right? But I didn't mind. She was easily the number 2 crush of the year. She's still a great individual. I love her friend group. I love everything about her. I think she's great. She's golden. She's a brilliant individual. And this is kind of a little advice for men in general. You can have your crushes and this and that, and you can ask someone out. But when they say no, you just have to move on, right? You just sort of you take your lumps. You realize that it just isn't meant to be. Listen. If two people are into each other, it works out pretty easily, right? And if you are unsure if someone's interested in you, and you sort of let them know in some clear, obvious way, and they aren't sure, they aren't quite interested in you back, it's pretty apparent. If they are, okay? So what you have to do in analyzing all these sort of crushes and run-ins is you just have to realize that it's not complicated. Pretty quickly and pretty obviously, right? It's just like maybe not noticing on one day that someone's giving you the googly eyes. The reality is, once you know they are, and you sort of head into those wading waters to see if things might be potentially good or bad, it's pretty easy to figure it out, guys. It's pretty easy to figure it out. Women many times don't understand that men are clueless and need a little bit of a hint, a little bit of reassurance that they're interested. But if a woman is really interested in you in any way, she will figure that out and find some way to let you know, right? So she was the number 2 crush of 2023. And coming in at number 1, our favorite Harry Potter villain, Voldemort. Of course, I list her as the crush. Voldemort, who I dated for 3 years, was definitely going to marry and all these things, until I figured out that she's just this huge female narcissist who really was just using me, hoping to get as much out of me as possible before dropping me like a hot rock and started dating someone about 3 weeks later. That's just not normal behavior for someone who's in a 3-year relationship. If you, as a female, tell a man that you love him, and then 3 weeks later are in a relationship with someone else, you didn't love him, okay? And you're not handling yourself very well. You probably need to seek out some therapy, or perhaps just work on yourself in some way. But I literally spent weeks crying to God all night, not able to sleep, for this woman to come back. And I thank God now that he kept this woman away from me and continues to. He knows what's best for me. And keeping a closed door on Voldemort, how many ever Horcrux we have to create out of that in order to, keep her away, is for the best. And but she rounds out the number 1 crush. And who will be the crush of 2024? Who knows? But as has been my focus for some time, it's letting God make decisions for me, letting him handle my revenge, loving myself, focusing on myself, battling cancer, and doing everything I need to do to make my kids happy and the people I love happy, right? Those are the goals. That's what we're put here for. That's the happiness I will have until my last day. But anyways, thanks for joining me on the Pink Room this particular episode. Next episode, we will be back in a week. We do have an interview lined up for that one, a little back and forth. If this episode wasn't ridiculous enough for you, if I didn't call enough people out, if I offended you in any way, it doesn't really fucking matter, because you've made it to the end of the podcast. And in that case, I love you and thank you for all the support and just being here, because not being alone and being here with you means something to me. Anyways, you all have a great rest of your year. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next week.